Well. Here we are, number 500. Barstools and Bandtalk. Yes, it's 500. Rimshots with Sean. I am here with Jason McCorriston, and anybody that hasn't met Jason knows the name because he's the guy that puts it all together. I just do all the stupid stuff and then send him the video, and Jason makes it look great. How you doing, sir?
Good now that I got this thing figured out. You can
Yeah,
hear me, you
yeah.
can see me.
It's beautiful. So I've been wearing these glasses a lot more. It's been really weird. I can actually see good when I'm doing it. So what the hell?
Do I look
Uh,
better or worse?
oh yeah, well, you look way better, man. Frig, I should have worn them like 2 years ago. So in addition to Barstools and Band Talk, you've had Short Notice. You have now have McCarty. You've got Riverfest. You're a videographer. You're doing like you're doing all kinds of stuff, right? Like just give us a little rundown of what it is that you have on the go.
Which hat do you want me to put on? I'm booking entertainment at the Legion. I'm doing the Rimshots and Barstool stuff. Doing graphics. I don't know. It's all music related pretty well, other than the day job, but everything else is all just music. So it's coming in from here and there and everywhere.
Well, and it's funny because you approached me. It has to be. So we're going on year 4. It'll be 4 years next month. You approached me a year and a half in. You said, "Geez, I'd love to get involved." So I was like, "Okay, this is cool." I went back and I looked, and I think we were somewhere around 91, 92 episodes. So you have, you're talking almost 400 and some odd episodes that you've produced. Just so everybody understands, what happens is I do the interviews and then I just send them off to Jason and he does his thing. So there's really no back and forth. You just see
No.
what you have. Explain that a little bit because some of them can be as short as 12 minutes and some of them can be long ones, man. And you got to do an awful lot of work to put them together.
I've got a template. I throw them in and I take out the stuff that isn't supposed to be heard by anybody else. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah, I do.
Just try to make it as seamless as I can to fit in whatever time we have. It's for East Link. It's got to try to fit in that what I'm 20 whatever this hour has 22 minutes sort of thing. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And yeah, and for YouTube it doesn't matter how long they are though. It's just
So
interest. Go ahead.
no, I was gonna say, so when everybody talks to me, they always like the whole we love the retro looking pop-up video things. So you have these little things that fly in and you I guess where does this creative side with you? Where did it start? Because I mean, I've known you for a long time. I've always seen it, but was it something that you always kind of had, or has it developed over the years as you kind of get into music?
No, I've always been artistic. If it wasn't for drawing and music and stuff, I was more into that part of school, we'll say, than the real part of school, if that makes any sense. So
100%, because I was too.
yeah, no work. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. A lot of people that in this industry were, right?
Well, that's the thing, and and one of the things that I was so Michael Brandvold today had his 600th episode of the Kiss podcast that he does, three sides of the coin. And he's been at it 13 years. So I mean, we've been at it 4 and we've had 500. I mean, that the pace is pretty crazy. Um, I'd like to talk about maybe some of the more memorable ones that we did. We can go back and forth on, you know, maybe ones that you found more memorable than me. I'll start with you. Is there one that kind of sticks out so far that maybe was a tougher one to put together?
Tougher. I don't know, a language barrier with from his name right up top of my head, but I probably couldn't say it if I wanted to. That plays with was it Dieth?
Oh, yes, Gilham.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, yeah. I practiced in front of the mirror for about a half hour before I did the interview.
I bet you did, yeah.
Yeah,
Spell that for Jason. You're not spelling it for me.
yeah, yeah. Well, his last name was Miranda, so that was pretty easy, right?
That
But
was easy.
yeah, but see, and the thing is about him, and so what happens is, I get these emails from these PR people that we work with in the States, and one of the ones off the bat that I'll say that was more memorable for me was Damon Johnson, who I'm like, I should know this guy. Why don't I? We go in the interview, and this guy he's playing with Skinner.
Yeah.
He played with Thin Lizzy. He played with Black. Like this is a guy who I'm like, I said to him afterwards, I'm almost ashamed that I didn't pick up on it. Those are some fun ones because I mean, um, everybody at that level is super cool. I mean, you don't necessarily get to see that so much, but I mean, you can probably get it from the interview that they're just not knobs, they're just good people.
No, like take Joey from Warrant that was just done. That was a great interview. He was at that level, but he was down to earth and it was relatable for really for anyone that has played for any kind of, I don't know, not touring the world, but you can relate to the stuff he's saying about the not wanting to travel, not wanting to do this and doing that. It's I don't know. I just found that was a really interesting one that just ran really smooth, right?
Yeah, and you know, you never know what you're going to get. Like, I always post every so often that, because I'll get people that are like, oh, well, you know, you're getting too big for your britches. You're doing too many, I guess, famous people. And what they don't understand is I've never said no to anybody. There might be one or two that I've interviewed that I'm like, but I've always done them. So if you're not seeing somebody, it's because they're either not responding, they've told me to frig off, they just don't want to do it. And unfortunately, some of those have been around Atlantic Canada. You know, and that's just the way it goes. I mean, I'm not going to put words in the mouth as to say why, but you know, you do this and you have a guy like Joey who, yeah, no problem, man. It's not too hard to say, hey, Mr. XYZ that I'm in the same town as, whatever. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't understand that. It shouldn't come down to clicks really, because if this is a click, this click has a lot of people viewing it that might not be part of a certain, you know what, it's always been clicks in music locally to me, well, probably music everywhere, but there's this group of people that does this, which is understandable. Not everybody can be everywhere at the same time, and you get familiar with your group of players or whatever, but it's pretty clicky. As much as it shouldn't be clicky, go back to COVID, everyone was going to be, yeah, we're all together. All right, rip off your mask. Let's go. Every man for himself again. You know what I
Well,
mean?
you know, I'm glad you're saying that because, you know, if there's two guys that can sit there and say like, okay, so you got Riverfest, you've done Riverfest, you've done videos for bands, you've pardon me, you've done some things like that. So, you know, you've proven that you're not going to take somebody's idea and steal it. You promote it. You've brought people in. You've played the local thing. You know, I've promoted. I've put shows up when I have shows at night. I've probably lost people. So I mean, if there's two guys that really don't have to prove that we're trying to do it for the scene, and yet it just seems like we always have to justify what we're doing, right?
Yeah, and you're right. Nobody should question what we're doing. It's that we've been doing Riverfest for 20 years pretty well, and it's like all independent bands. A few years we had Name Acts, but for the most part, it's your local yokels coming out and rocking out.
Well, and so I've done that 2 years, and I love the camping aspect. I love the It's got a communal sort of feel to it. Like, you know, we play on the Friday night, and then I just get to relax, and I get to see some folks that I haven't seen in a while. But the whole vibe is really cool, and I wish that vibe that takes place there would always translate to the local scene. And it's just weird how there's not a big sharing in information, and people just don't want to. I'm not going to say help out, but it's almost like they give away too much. You're going to give somebody the edge and they're going to do something bigger than you.
But it's always been that way. It's
Yeah.
Nobody's ever been saying, "Here's my safe. Here's a combination. See what I've done to get this gig, that gig, get on the radio." I don't know. I don't think there is any book to read to go by to say, "Hey, now I'm a rock star or I'm famous." It's a lot of luck. You're not. I don't know. There's a lot to it. It's not just playing a guitar and saying, "Look at me, I wrote a song."
Yeah. And I get because, I mean, just like some of the things we've been doing the last few months. And I mean, you know, the video that you did for Michelle and some other stuff. And I know what it takes. You know what it takes to record and get something out there, and you're with it for so long, and then you put it out and you hope it resonates with people. But I just think, for starters, anybody that puts their own stuff out, I've got utmost respect for. I wish people would start seeing that we're really trying to build something here besides Jason and Sean just having a little cute podcast, right?
We're gonna take over the maritime music scene. Look at me.
Yeah, yeah. Well, hey, you know, many have tried, but and it gets down to things like Junos and I'll share a story kind of before you came along, but we had I can't remember if it was Juno or sorry, ECMAs or Music Nova Scotia. They were having a thing in Halifax, and we said, hey, well, we'll go and we'll cover it, and a friend of mine was on the board, and he went and he talked to the board, and they came back and said, oh, well, you're about cover bands and bars, so we're not interested. And I'm thinking, thanks a lot for actually watching, because at that point, I don't think we had interviewed a single cover artist, maybe one, maybe two, but we weren't allowed to go out to the bars because everything was shut down, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Organizations have funny ways about them. I'll put it that way. I've been nominated for don't know what I was. With Riverfest, we were nominated as Event of the Year. Always surprised me to win. And with Music Nova Scotia or Mayans, probably at the time it was, we were nominated as Cover Band of the Year for. So coming back for cover bands, full
I don't even
circle.
I don't even know if they have that or short notice, but I don't even know if they have that category anymore.
Oh, probably not.
I know my buddy Greg St. Clair and Warren Robert. I don't remember if it was ECMAs or Music Nova Scotia, but they were nominated and they were supposed to go and walk the red carpet and do all that stuff. And then I think it was 2 or 3 days before the event happened, they got an email saying everything was going to be changed and they were going to be part of a non-televised or venued event somewhere else. And they're like, well, why are we going to go? Like, we probably won't win, and they didn't. But it was in
Yeah.
Sydney, and anyway, those are the little things about this place that kind of sometimes makes you scratch your head, right?
Yeah, oh, for sure. And if you're just from the outside looking at the ads coming up, come here, we're the great, we do this and that. There's a little more when you delve into it. Respect for anyone that's in there, that's getting the recognition and stuff. A lot of those people have been getting the same recognition since we were nominated 20 years ago. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
It seems like to me, there's not always, I know there's new people coming out and you gotta have your anchors to keep the draw, but some of those anchors are pretty deep in the mud and under the boat, if that makes sense to you. There's not
That's
enough new stuff coming through. And I see the new stuff just doing Riverfest or,
yeah,
well, Riverfest, for example, with the bands that aren't cover bands. There's loads and loads and loads of killer music out there that
yeah.
people just don't know or don't see because once again, they aren't in that clique that's gonna say, hey, here's your nomination. We're gonna push you here or there. Some of these guys are getting the what is it, loud recording and stuff like that, which is cool and good for them. Like if you
Yeah.
can do it, you can get that little trophy to put on your mantle. Power to you.
Well, and I mean, that's a good point because as much as people might not like to hear this, we're not a loud area for music. Like, it's around and there's some great bands that do it, but they have to work that much harder to get hardly anything. And it's too bad because that's just and around here, I remember 30 years ago playing the Double Deuce Roadhouse and Greg Clark saying, "Yeah, you guys, I'd love to have you here, but you're too good, and that's not what we're looking for." And that was the grunge movement, and it just always seems to be something that keeps the hard rock stuff out of the mainstream here, is
Yeah,
what it is. But independent music's a good way to go too.
it is. And there's lots of it. There's lots of it everywhere. I see that here in Nova Scotia. And then with Rimshots and so on, what's your name again? Rimshots with
Yeah,
Sean.
that's right.
There's so much that comes through there that I've never heard of before. It's not all name acts like Warrants and these guys from Leonard Skinner and stuff. There's loads of indie bands that come through that I've never heard of or never would have heard of without seeing it on the show, right?
Well, and the thing I think is cool, like so Jason does the actual heavy lifting part, but the research part, I do that. So it'll either be somebody asking for a certain artist and I'll reach out to them, or I'll see somebody that's done an interview and I'll reach out. But the research part between what Jason does and what I do, that might be the bulk of the actual thing, and the actual interview itself is the smallest part. But when we find those independent guys, man, we really like to highlight them. And we found some good ones. Like we had Echo 7 on the show that they were promoting Riverfest last year.
Yeah.
Shadows of Everest, who I absolutely love, was on there. Um, Name me a couple other local bands that have caught your eye. Dogs of Sun's another one for me.
Dodge Sun mentioned those guys around. They're heavy. There's loads of them around that to name them, I don't know. I could go forever.
Yeah.
And lots of those bands aren't getting the recognition. What's the word? Aren't getting seen like they should.
Yeah, yeah.
But I don't know what the inner workings are of each camp neither, right? It's not all, hey, these guys aren't looking at me. It's a lot of work when you're inside it. You have people look at you, I guess, if that makes sense.
No, for sure. And so one of the things that has become I'll call it a theme, a recurring theme, is the aspect of networking. Now, you're not the only one that can mess up words. See, I can
No,
do it
I
too.
appreciate that.
And I just interviewed Les Warner from the Cult. I sent that to you, the former drummer from the Cult. Everybody talks about networking. The only person that really didn't make that big of a deal of it was Jeff Pilson, where he's like, I'm too busy to network. Well, okay, it's great to have that problem. But for the most part, the ability to play is second to the ability to know people and the ability to hang. And I think that's a piece that people say they know, but they kind of don't really buy into. And I think if they did, things would really start to take off because of the grunge movement. And I was in the middle of it, man. I was on the outside looking in. They networked and helped each other out like crazy, and they had a ton of success from here.
Yeah. It's strength in numbers, I guess, sort of thing, right? That's really how it is. You can't go out there and just do it by yourself and expect everyone to wipe your butt for you. And there's a lot of work to it. The more you know, the more people you know, the better you're going to be off.
So this is number 500. If everybody's keeping score, 500, that's a lot. I mean, like $500 doesn't sound, that's a lot, man. And you know, I was looking up what it means after 4 years, and I think it's something like three a month, or I don't know, I could be off in the math, but
Sometimes it's 3 or 4 a week when you send me. I don't get anything for a week or two, and then I open up my email.
well, and you know, that's the way it works, right? Because everything cycles like so I'll give a shout out to Jamie Roberts, Dave Tedder, Raquel Fiagro. We picked up Freeman Promotions out of New Jersey. There's somebody I'm probably forgetting. But these are all folks that fire stuff to us. And I went back and I was trying to figure out what was the one that attracted those people to the States. And it was Jamie Roberts got us Tim Ripper Owens. I don't even remember that.
Mhm. Yeah.
It went out on the wire, and all of a sudden we start getting requests.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ones was the Richie one from Judas Priest.
Oh yeah, well, that was a good lucky one to stumble across.
Well, and Alan
Misfortune
Zolkowski, man.
became your, you know
What's
what I
that?
mean? I say somebody else's misfortune wasn't there like an illness or a schedule conflict that got you that interview instead of something?
No, what happened was Alan Zolkowski, you know Alan.
Yeah,
So he called me and he said, "Look, their manager's a friend of mine because I do photography, and they want to break the story that the concert's taking place, but I'm too scared to do it. I'm not that guy." I'm like, "Well, what do you need?" He goes, "Can you do the interview?" I'm like, "Okay." So
sure.
Alan was actually sitting to my right
That was all right.
watching,
Yeah.
and I was doing the interview, and I remember I called you. I said, "Man, we got to get this out quick." Like, and we got it on, and we beat North American media on that freaking story by almost 4 hours. And a couple of people were like, "How did you guys do that?" And it's like, well, happened in our backyard, but you know, we're not a multi employee operation here where we got to go
Yeah.
through 8 channels to get something out. It was Jason, can we do it? Yes, we can. Boom, it was up, and away we went.
And Richie was a good guy. Once again, coming from that level, playing to huge venues, not just a bar band, as Judas Priest. He was
Right.
down to earth and as friendly, as nice as anybody, right?
Yeah, and I mean that was the one that I was trying to key in on how. So it was Tim Ripper got us first, and then Richie got us, and all of a sudden I start getting messages from Dave Tedder, who, if anybody knows Dave, you haven't met Dave yet, but I tell you, he's going to be reaching out to you. He's a good guy, man. He's in Vegas, and he got us Pete Evick that plays with Bret Michaels, and he got us a couple other ones, and he knows everybody. Raquel Fiagro, she's out of Orange County, and she got us Sid Quern that used to be in Ministry, and Jeff Fab that is in Black Label Society.
Yeah.
And of course, Jamie Roberts, man, Tim Ripper Owens, she started managing again. So there's all kinds of stuff. Freeman Promotions, John Freeman got us Jeff Pilson. So that's kind of how it works. But here, it's very strange. So we get all that stuff going on, and then you reach out to somebody here that you know, and they don't get back to you, or it's just a really weird sort of dynamic. But I've kind of just learned to embrace it.
Well, you got to. You don't get butthurt about it. There's other people that want to do it, obviously. Don't we have any PR organizations here in the Maritimes that are reaching out at all, saying, "Hey, let's talk to this guy or that guy"?
Yes and no. The funny thing about what happens is really I'll bump into somebody if I'm playing somewhere, or somebody be like, "Hey, do you know blah blah blah." But I've had some people that are out and out, just they're not, they don't want to engage. And to be honest with you, I'm fine with that, because if I got to beg somebody to come on this thing, it's not worth my time.
No, it's not, because you're not going to. Well, one, it's not worth your time to beg somebody to do it. Two, you're probably not going to get out of it what you want anyway. Speaking of
Right.
that, how many interviews have you done on here that you didn't like, or not didn't like, but were hard to do? How that? I know one right
Uh,
off the bat that I'm sure you're good that you. Oh, well, I've seen them all. You know what I mean?
Which one are we
You don't
talking
have to
about?
mention a name. I'll put it that way.
Are we talking one that was a couple years ago?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'll name the name and I'll tell you why. Because it wasn't, he wasn't rude. He wasn't. So we had the opportunity to get JP Cormier on. And JP, if you go and you follow him, he's got 10, 12, 15, 20,000 YouTube subscribers. He does guitar videos. I mean, that's how he earns his money and he does shows. And so he's in a rural area. He's having a problem getting connectivity. He was on Rick Howe the day before, and he was talking about how, this is unacceptable, and he was very combative. We got him on the next night, and I asked him one question, and it was just like, okay, somebody got to this guy because his whole demeanor changed. It was like everybody's going to be cooperative. And so I come to find out later that my former co-host was supposed to call him because he was going out to supper with his wife and he rushed back. So he was a little cranky. And when we got him on, what it came down to was that. And then as soon as I asked him about I asked him like three questions, and I was going, you know what, this guy's not having a good night. We'll maybe pass it. And I asked him about the YouTube channel, and away he went. And then we got a really good interview out of him. It was one of the better ones. So that was a good lesson for me because I'm not a trained journalist, man. This is just something that I decided to do for, pardon my French, shits and giggles. And here we are 4 years later. So that was a good learning experience for me because I think you think everybody is like this great, conversationalist or they're always easygoing. And that was pretty good.
People are people. Everyone's different. You can't expect everybody to come out smiling. And, yeah. I don't know. People have bad days. Don't want to talk about certain things. Is what it
No,
is.
that's fair. And I mean, you always remember the recent ones, but the Bobby Brown from last week, that first 10 minutes of that interview was so she had disappeared for a year and a half and she came back and she was, there's a bunch of, she's talking religion and Bible verses. And so I figured I would ask her a question and it would have something to do with her kind of finding God or whatever. And the 10 minutes that we got was insane. Identity theft, people showing up with an armed weapon at her house, police not believing her having to hire a detective, her losing everything. And I'm sitting there going, and here's the funny thing. About a half hour before, she sends me a note and she says, can we just do 30 minutes? Because I'm not really ready to get out there yet. I asked her the question. She goes, 10 minutes. And I said, wow, that was 10 minutes, Bobby. And she's like, you know what? I'm having a great time here. Let's keep going. And we could have talked to her all night. And those are the things, those are the fun ones, right? Because you're sitting there going, okay, we're actually doing something good here. People are buying into what we're doing.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that first 10 minutes, like, what? You did what? That happened? And the way she said the authorities took care of it or didn't take care of it. Yeah, it's crazy stuff, man.
It
Especially for
was.
somebody, I don't know, I guess that's who people they go after anybody, but to hear a story like that she was like totally destroyed more or less, it was a good one to stumble across. It was good journalism, sir.
Well, like accidental journalism. It was,
What do you call it, what you want?
yeah, it's one of those things like the Condor broke. It was really weird, but it's just how it came about. But there's been some other ones like that too. One of the things that I really like, and hopefully people are picking up on it. Typically, we'll always ask, is there anything you don't want to cover? Because Jason, you've seen them all, man. We don't cover the dirt. We're not TMZ. We don't do
No.
that. But oftentimes we'll be told, you know what, we've got 15 minutes for you, and it ends up going longer. And those are usually the ones that you get that are half hour, 40 minutes,
Yeah.
where we're having such, and people are like, oh, I thought it was going to be an interview. It was just a conversation. And really the concept for this thing was just sitting around a bar, having a beer, shooting the breeze, man, and it resonates.
Aren't we supposed to talk about backing tracks now?
There you go. That's our blabbermouth. I got
That's right.
our blabbermouth moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I should hide that. No backing tracks allowed.
Well, yeah, well, that's the thing. Well, that's right. Oh, McCarty music backing tracks. Well, let's talk about McCarty for a second because so you and Sean have been playing together forever.
Yeah.
I remember moving back from Toronto in 2000, and the first time that I went out to see a band, I moved back. I think I got here November 1st of 2000. The first time I went out to actually see a band was before Christmas, but then I went out and saw you guys at the Palace just after New Year's. So you and Sean were in that band. You had another singer and your drummer Tony. But let's talk about that for a second because now you got McCarty, and that's just you guys are really starting to crank that.
McCarty just came out of getting stagnant with short notice, I guess. After so long, we've been doing the same set list. Just, I don't know, we just wanted to try something a little different. Started off, we were gonna, oh, well, let's just get a couple guitars, a couple lights, we'll go do that. And then when we started that, it's like, hey, why don't we try this? Maybe we can get something that we can program the lights to this and that. And then it's turned into all this crap, and we're making videos, and during COVID, trying to put out a video a week. And it turned into us now back playing bars with backing tracks and program lights. And I don't know, we're having fun doing it. If it's not your thing, hey, fair enough. If it is, come see us. We'll have fun.
Well, I mean, you know what? I'm glad you said that, because it's like, I won't name names, but there's certain people that are like, oh, you know, backing tracks. You like local people, or oh, you know, I can't believe you're doing videos, or you know, you let videos that are recorded at shows go out. And it's like, the thing is, somebody puts a phone up, man. You know, I see the phone up and it's posted on the internet before I even finish the song. Sometimes you just got to get used to that. But what I like about McCarty is that I remember you lost your vocalist. I think it was your second vocalist, and Sean just decided he was going to sing.
Yeah, with Ted.
And right,
And then Sean and Tony both took it on like 50-50.
right.
Yeah.
But I remember, you know, I remember talking to Sean. He's like, "Yeah, you know, I'm not really a singer, but I'm gonna try." And he got to a point where he was getting quite good, and it just seemed like you guys just didn't play for a long period of time. So it's pretty cool to see him doing it again, because you know he's worked hard on it. And he's hitting the notes. He's doing the job.
Yeah, no, we're having fun. It's like I say, old dogs, new tricks, I guess. We've been
Right.
playing bass and guitar for whatever, how long, but adding all this stuff and relying on a computer, well, you know what I mean? I would rather rely on a human
Yeah.
just because, what, you missed that bar there? Well, we're gonna go through another one until we can get you back in. But playing with tracks or a click track or whatever, there's a lot of work to it. People think, oh no, you're faking it. We don't want to take out a six-piece band. No offense to six-piece bands,
Yeah.
but we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
My band was six-piece at one time.
Yeah.
We just wanted to throw this little bit of stuff in the car, go to bring a bigger show to a smaller venue, I guess. Now, when we play Monty's, that'll be different. We'll just bring in a couple things, and Monty's got, who's gonna go in? I'm not gonna take these piddly lights in there and say, hey, Red, I don't want you to turn on those things behind us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There, we're gonna be using their system and their lights, but
Yeah.
for the most part, my idea was to design a big show for little venues. And I don't know if we've accomplished that or not, but we're having fun. So,
Well, I think you are. I definitely think you are. And because you guys, what was it, Riverfest your debut, or did you do a couple shows before that last year?
Riverfest there a couple years ago was, yeah.
Okay, so I mean, the first thing that I see is, okay, and I'm a drummer, I can say it, you know, no drums. So you got a volume control piece there that you know, you don't have to worry about the drummer if you can't hit light. You know, less setup, you know, less footprint on the stage. You know, you're doing a set list that, you know, one of the things, and you know, Side Hustle is a good example. We have one version of the show that if you don't dance, we don't care, and we're fine with it. And sometimes it confuses people, but whatever. All kinds of bands are doing the Halifax songbook. We don't need another one of those to do that. However, you guys are doing it in a different way, so I think that's cool. And you know, I think, you know, you're probably going to wind up having that thing booked right out, you know, the rest of this year.
We're playing in cover bands for cover bands for so long. I'm just used to having people dance. My job's to have people dance when I'm up there. And I don't like standing up there watching people sit in their chairs, and it's like, come up, dance, participate, have fun.
Yeah.
And that's what we just dropped a song that we thought, hey, this is going to be a good song, but we road tested it. Nobody danced to it. We liked the song, but our egos and pride took it in the way. It's like, out with that one. We're bringing in this next song where we know people are going to dance to. I'd rather have people dance from bang as early in the night, hopefully the first song of the night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get what you guys are doing. It's cool to hear different tunes too, right?
Yeah, and I mean, like, you know, there's a couple different versions of the show. Like, we actually have a dancey part, we got a classic rock part, we got a kind of a, I don't know, we'll call it the prog part where we're doing sticks and stuff like that. And then we're about to introduce, you know, there'll be some shows coming up with Michelle's music where it'll be entirely, you know, some festival stuff will be a lot of her stuff, so it's cool. But all the stuff that we're talking about here, I mean, it came out of that friggin' COVID time. I mean, McCarty came out of COVID pretty much. Is that correct?
Yeah, true story. Yeah.
Barstools came out of that. I mean, it started out as, you know, CIOE. I was doing a sports show, and we put it together. Side hustle came out of that because, I was looking to play more because my other band, one of the guys wanted to play less. So one of the things when we kept talking and we started talking, and you talked about every man for himself and the mask come off, I kept saying if somebody embraces technology and they don't sit there and whine, if they're doing it while there's everything shut down, they'll come out the other end successful. And I think that's what we're seeing all around here, right? We did that.
Yeah, well, I hope so anyway. Success is how you measure success is one thing, but yeah, no, it's still going and we're still having fun doing it. As long as I'm having fun, then it's a successful thing to me.
Well, and like we're not to the point where the Brinks truck is dropping off bags and bags and bags and bags of money. However,
But we are monetized now, so I'm waiting for that.
we're monetized, and that was painful, but man, oh man, that's fun. You're getting some opportunities that, and I probably shared this with you before, but when you said, "Hey, man, I want to come on board," and I said, "Well, there's no money," you're like, "I just want to do it and have fun." In the back of my mind, I'm like, "Hey, you know what? I know what Jason can do if he can get some work. Boom." And you're starting to do some project. Well, you've been doing projects for people now for what, over a year?
Yeah, well over that now.
Yeah.
Lyric videos, this and that, just different things that people need done that they can't do or don't want to do. I get the call and I try to do it as quick and efficiently as possible.
Well, and here's what I love. It's like, I'm in Dartmouth, you're in Chester, and we get guys from California giving you a call to, you know what I mean? And I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those things where you tell people and they're kind of like, I don't believe you, but it's like video by Jason McCorriston from some band in Thousand Oaks, California, or wherever the heck Doug Franklin lives. And and you're doing some stuff, or you had done some stuff with Westlake, and people need to understand, like, don't be limited by where you live. It doesn't matter where you live. You can do whatever you want if you get the proper contacts.
Oh, for sure, especially with what I'm doing and you're recording too. It's all digital nowadays. You don't have to go to the studio or rub
Right.
elbows with anybody. Just we do face to face or send a message and then get done, right?
Well, that's
So
it.
hopefully,
Well, and it's funny because like you and I talk more over Messenger. I mean, I think the last time I saw you is when you did Michelle's video back. I mean, it was the summertime. Um,
yeah,
and
yeah.
she's walking around in black leather, and we're in shorts, and it's just around the corner. It's just around the corner. It's just half a kilometer later, right? But that's the beauty, and that's what I kept saying, and not that I was just so smart. I heard other people say it, but I do think that anybody that was taking that time now is kind of seeing it might not be like making them rich right now, but you do feel like good things are coming.
Oh yeah, I could have just sat on my ass and watched Barstools and Bandtalk every all those episodes, right? But
Well, and it's funny because that was an evolution too, right? Like, we started local. I think the first few guys were like Jackie Smith and Maurice, Jeff Hope. I can't remember the first five, maybe Sam Moon, but they were all local. And then the first one we got was Darby Mills, and as soon as Darby got in there, all of a sudden, and I remember it, man. We're sitting there waiting for her to come on, and she goes, "Yeah, hi, it's Darby. It's good to see you guys. The last two guys I talked to were doing it in their parents' basement, so it's good to see some pro." And I'm sitting there laughing my head off, right? And it's funny because that's kind of the humble beginnings. But now we got cool sets, we got cool,
things,
visuals that you're doing, and it's a real show, man. It's a real show that's not made in a $1 billion studio, but I'll put it up against anything anytime that's out there.
there's quality stuff to it. If anyone takes a chance and listens to it, from my perspective, from before I was involved, before I said, "Hey, we need a logo," and I'm sitting there bored out of my mind, going, "Hey, zip, 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 send this off," and then that's sort of how I got involved with everything. But
Yeah,
I watched there was nothing going on. I
yeah,
get to see, or I don't know, meet and see, not meet, I guess, but get introduced to artists from the area that I really didn't know, and it was intro artists that I did know that I learned more from, like Maurice and stuff like that. I don't know. It's just it's a good show. You learn. I learned something from pretty well every show. I don't know if that I take it gospel or not,
yeah, yeah.
but I don't know. There's something to be learned from every show if you're a musician, and maybe not just if you want to be a good person, because a lot of those people they interview are good people that just either sit behind a drum kit or slap on a guitar. You know what I mean? They're just good people.
That's a cool, because I remember when we first started doing it, my line was, man, it's nice to meet somebody that you grew up listening to and they're not a dick or they're
Yeah.
not an asshole. But as you meet these people and you're talking to them, like I'm looking at my phone here, and they're trusting me with their phone numbers. Like they're giving, don't message me, text me, call me. Um, I don't know. Like Joey, Joey was a good. Hey man, if we're playing Boston soon, you and your crew come down, VIP on us. We'll show you a good time. Les Warner, hey, we're doing a big party in June in Vegas, my house. You guys want to come out? I mean, and because they can tell that we're not trying to break some friggin' TMZ story to embarrass them. We're trying to
They all
do.
invite us when it's like a million of miles away.
Yeah,
Like
that's
Halifax.
right.
Tweet, what's that? Where are we at?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, nothing fun ever happens here. Like we don't even get a Juno invite. Wow. Ooh, did I say that
Oh
out loud? But
no.
um, but that's fine. So has there been any that I've lobbed you that you've had to put together that were just like, yeah, and you don't have to name names, but maybe were painful to put together or was kind of uninteresting for you and you really had to dig to make them happen?
I don't know. There's some that really, not that they didn't interest me, but uh, the persona that the person tries to put on in front of the camera, I don't think that's probably how they live their normal life. And I
Yeah.
get that if you're trying, but sort of those days of, to me, though, I'm an old man now, but to me, those days of being an old rock star with this, here's what I did, here's how I kicked ass, did this and that. Cool, that's done, but I don't know if I'm losing the question or not, but there's been some that it's like, what's this guy all about? Like, where's he coming from?
Yeah.
But as you listen on, there is parts of his story that says, well, okay, this guy's like this, but he's done that. How the hell did this meet that? And once again, it usually comes back to networking, I guess. So
Well, it's interesting because some of them, like I remember Billy Sheehan, he said, I'll do it, but I don't want it to wind up on Blabbermouth or Ultimate Guitar. And it didn't. And he's had some other ones that have gone on there, and he's actually sent me messages and said, thank you for not doing that. They were making fun of his Scientology thing, right? And he didn't want any part of it. Um, but you take a guy like Cameron. I remember we interviewed Eric Martin, and the
yeah,
interview's over, and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" Well, I don't know why. I got nothing to do for 2 hours, and we sat there and chatted with the guy for 2 hours. It was super cool, right?
yeah.
Um, Daryl Miller from Killer Dwarfs has become a bud who is funny as friggin' hell. He's like, you know, uh, you and I both grew up listening to those guys, right? And
I don't have the horse actually. It's one of the times way back in the day. Was it
and I
Crazy Horse?
mean,
Yeah, sure.
down to earth dude, right? Down to earth dude, and he's funny
Yeah,
as friggin' hell. Barry Connors from Toronto was another guy, especially when he went to Coney Hatch,
yeah.
and you go and find out that he's a nice guy. And he, or sorry, I keep Ann Woods, Holly Woods. I mean, that reel that you put together for the song. I mean, Rick Emmett, Francis Ruiz from Buck Cherry. I mean, we're meeting some pretty cool people, and it just turns out they put their pants on one leg at a time, just like we do, right?
Yeah, true story. Just like I say, it's just the job the way they choose to make a living, whether they choose or they have to, I don't know, but being a music's not an easy thing, really. So power to them if you make it to that level.
Absolutely. Um, we're gonna do something here. So it's hard to pin down a date to say when number 500 is gonna go up. Um, but what we're gonna do is, so we partnered with Rock the Harbor. We've been helping them kind of with their thing. So what we're gonna do as part of this, and God love Lori, she'll help me out. Number 500 goes up. And we'll run a little contest. It'll go something like this: the second that it goes up, or the day that it goes up, if you're not a subscriber, you subscribe to the channel and you tell us your favorite one that we've done. We'll put that in a draw, and hey, we will hook you up with some Rock the Harbor tickets if you win. I guess parting shots here, Jason. What do you have on the go? I mean, like I say, we do this. It's sporadic, but you always get it done. You have some other stuff on the go. What's going to be happening for you over the next weeks, months?
I don't know. Check out some of the bands I've been booking down at the Legion, I guess. Gotta make sure you know what you're booking.
Oh, that's going good too, right?
Yeah, it is. Before they used to have like a band once a month and none in the summer. And just with me, why are we having an open hall or not an open room if there's lots of bands up. And once again, it comes to networking. A lot of people know who I am that way. So when I put the word out that I'm looking for acts, it's like bam, 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 bam. I could have bands there like constantly, really. But so it's working out really good. We're gonna have our what, our fourth or fifth or sixth band, or sixth band this weekend coming up.
Nice.
That would have been 6 months of waiting, right? So it's kind of cool to have all that in there.
And you guys have a food truck that is on site periodically as well?
Yeah, they try to come down, curbside eats come down, and you can get your burger and fries and stuff to bring into the Legion because there's no food service, right? So that's kind of a helpful thing too, because instead of going to a place and grabbing your bite, now we offer that as much as we can with having the food truck outside, bring it in and feed those munchies and party down.
Well, I gotta I haven't been down to Chester in a bit since, pardon me, the summertime. We'll have to get down there.
Well, we can go back for another walk around Graves Island if you want.
Well, yeah, she'll probably do it next time without the black leather and.
I know, and I don't want to do it.
But you know what? Beautiful, beautiful location, and it was interesting because that video wound up having almost like a Princess Bride fairy-esque kind of vibe to it, which resonated with Peach, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, wander. What are we gonna do? Let's wander around the island. There's some nice scenery here. Yeah, that it seemed to work out.
That's right. That's right. Well, look, man, I want to thank you for doing this number 500, and it's hard to believe. I bet you we'll have 600 before the end of the year. But 5 is a big one, and certainly by numbers alone, you're a huge part of it because, like you were, like I say, I think 420 some is what you did. And if you put that down to you were a year and a half late to the party, that's an awful lot of work. So kudos to you, my brother. And here's the number 600. Maybe 600 we'll get some of our celebrity friends to come in and make guest appearances.
There you go. Now you're talking.
So hey guys, I think this was going to be brought to you by Renegade Records, my buddy Tom, and go check him out on Portland Street. They do great work. Anything that you want, if they don't have it, as soon as they get it, they will put it on your list and give you a call. So ciao for now.
Adios.